HELLSTAR REMINA is my second adventure into the warped mind of Junji Ito. After checking out Uzumaki, which I have reviewed on the channel and you're more than welcome to check out if you'd like to, I was very curious to get into another Ito story, and for some reason I was drawn to REMINA, much like a gravitational force of planetary proportions. Well, that and I just dig the color red, which is the cover of the manga. But I have to say that I loved this story and liked this one way more than Uzumaki actually, which I also loved. But REMINA was able to capture something within its short 6-chapter run that I think was both absolutely terrifying and completely profound. The story has a very simple premise, but what it does within that premise and how it was written and progressed was the true testament to the good writing on display here. To put it simply, a new planet was discovered that appears to have come from a different universe entirely. The scientist that discovered it named the planet after his daughter, Remina, discovering the planet on Remina's 16th birthday, and realizing that the planet is exactly 16 light years away, meaning it crossed over into our universe when she was born. Whether there is a true reason behind this, or it is mere coincidence, is kind of left up to the reader to decide. We know no more about the planet than the characters in the story do, and that lack of knowledge about what exactly the planet is, why it does what it does, and how, adds to the terror of the events to come. Most of human fear comes from two major aspects. One is the fear of the unknown, and the other is the fear of death. And REMINA captures both of those perfectly, leading into a truly great cosmic horror story. The REMINA planet begins heading towards Earth, literally devouring planets as it approaches. This puts the people of Earth in an absolute panic. But what do? Well, nothing. There is a disconnect I think that a lot of people have when it comes to our planet's survival. The idea of Earth being destroyed is considered either science fiction or something so far into the future it's not worth worrying about. But the lack of resources of what to do if our planet was about to be hit by a giant meteor or blasted by a giant beam from space is never brought up to the public. And even if the world powers did know that a world catastrophe event was on the horizon, they would never tell us. They wouldn't risk the worldwide level panic and insanity that would follow, as it shows perfectly here in REMINA. As the Earth is about to be destroyed, mankind must come to terms with their own mortality and place within the universe. This idea of superiority that human beings tend to have, that we are very special, but in the grand scheme of the universe, we are just a little speck within a gigantic cosmos. But our egos exist also to keep us alive, and we often refuse to accept that there are things that we cannot control. When we are faced with such realities, people look for anything else to blame. Something must have caused this. There must be evil out there in the world. It's much easier for us to believe in evil than it is to believe in indifference. We want a reason for why bad things happen, and that reason comes in the form of Remina the human. Knowing the planet is named after her and came into existence the same time that she did, humanity deems her to blame for their impending demise. And to try to appease the gods above them, they want to treat Remina like a sacrificial offering, believing that killing her will stop the Remina planet. And this is where shit gets really dark. We get a lot of biblical imagery when it comes to the sacrifice idea. Like Christ was singled out, tortured, and put on the cross, so too do they wish to do with Remina. Which is something I always thought was so interesting and weird about humanity. So many events in history and ancient civilizations and tribes and things like that all kind of revolve around sacrificing one for the salvation of many, throwing everyone else's sins and scapegoating onto another person in order to protect yourself. Like being so afraid of facing up to your own mistakes that someone else has to take it on for the whole of the team. And as advanced as society gets, when people are scared and pushed into a corner, they revert back to these primitive ways of coming up with solutions. And part of this manga gets very difficult to read simply because of the realism at play here. There's a good portion of the manga where Remina and a few men that are with her, who all not so secretly have feelings for her, which is another thing that's interesting here because it's almost like every single person in the world desires her in some way, either romantically or because they want to murder her. But anyways, they spend a good portion of the manga trying to run from the mob looking to capture her, and once they do catch up with her, We do see her tortured, and we do see her put onto a cross, and the very fact that she doesn't deserve any of this at all makes it very hard to witness as the audience. And we see that cruel desperation in the mobs and the crowds as well, and it's sort of like they've lost the ability to think individually and instead are just one collective whole. There's also the leader of the mob cult who wears a mask and sort of delivers the instructions on how to sacrifice her. This was a good addition to the story, I thought, because it kind of personifies the entire feeling that the mob gives off, but through an image that is abstractly human. Like the fact that he's wearing a hood that almost maybe even looks KKK-like kind of comes off just uncomfortable enough to feel like something other than human, helping to enable the spread of fear and terror throughout the populace. And if there's anything these last few years have taught us, it's that enough fear and motivation can easily manipulate the masses. In this story, it shows people are willing to default to their most barbaric ways if it means just a few more seconds of life. Now let's talk about Remina, the planet itself. So there are moments in the story that take place actually on the planet itself, and Ito did a really good job at making this planet seem like a hellscape. Maybe the planet is meant to represent hell itself, and that might make it fitting with the biblical imagery in the story. Maybe this is like the rapture in some sort of way. But the planet itself seems to be living, even forming gigantic eyes that can move independently, and let's not forget that tongue. Now, I'm a man that enjoys some nice tongue and swallowing action, but this tongue takes the prize by using it to wrap around an entire planet and pull it inside to swallow it whole. And how much of a consciousness does this planet have? Where did it come from? Why is it doing this? Like I said, we know what the characters know, and it's mostly nothing. There's some great cosmic horror moments as well that happen on the planet involving some astronauts, which was a ton of fun to read. I love this moment in the story. And every time the planet itself was involved with the story, things felt very grand and epic and, well, world-destroying. I mean, as it should have. And that's really all I can think to say without spoiling the entire manga. Junji Ito makes it very easy to get into his works because all of his stories seem to be one-shots and self-contained. It only took me about an hour to read this, and the entire time I was imagining it like a movie. I was thinking of like Prometheus and 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I would love to see a high-budget film adaptation of this someday. That would be amazing. I don't really have anything negative to say about it. My only gripe, if I had any, is just like with Uzumaki, that because it's so short, the characters don't really get fleshed out that much, but like, it doesn't matter. The manga is good, and it's about to be October and spooky season anyway, so if you need some horror in your life, please check out Remina. So let me know in the comments if you've read it and what you think about it. What are your thoughts on some of the themes of it or the scenes that stuck out to you? Anything about the story that maybe Ito has said in interviews or whatever, because I didn't look anything up. I didn't look anything up about what he said about what the story represented. I didn't watch any other reviews, so this is literally just my fresh takes on it. So let me know anything down in the comments below that would help me interpret the story a little bit better. And also, what's the next Junji Ito book that I need to check out? Leave that down below as well. Please like and comment to help me in the algorithm, and you can check out in the video description, I'll have a link to my Uzumaki review, as well as my Patreon, merch store, and various social media links where you can follow me. Other than that, guys, thank you for watching. As always, I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you next time.